That heartbreaking moment when a doctor delivers terrible news to a patient happens all too often. And though the news may not always be a death sentence, if a doctor gets serious, you know the following days, weeks, months, or years are going to be challenging at the very least. When Darla Rogers visited the emergency room because of a sudden medical issue, the doctor spoke to her 3 solemn words no patient wants to hear. With her future looking bleak, she composed herself, prayed for a miracle, and faced the new medical challenge with all her strength. On Mother's Day in 2014, Darla Rogers and her husband Tim were having a mellow celebration in their home. While they were watching a movie in their living room, Darla was struck with severe pains in her abdomen. As the pain worsened, Tim didn't want to take any chances with Darla's health, so he drove her to a nearby hospital. He wanted a doctor to examine her, just in case the pain was something serious, like appendicitis. Once at the hospital, doctors took a sample of blood from Darla, and after examining it, determined a short-notice CAT scan was warranted. This wasn't at all what Darla and Tim were expecting, and they prayed that nothing serious would come out of it. After the CAT scan was complete, Darla and Tim waited anxiously in the hospital room for the results. After what seemed like hours, the doctor came back, and he had a grim look on his face. He stared at the couple intently before pulling out the results of the CAT scan. He then spoke 3 words that made both Darla and Tim go numb with fear. "You have cancer." Darla's world instantly collapsed. More specifically, the doctor told Darla that she had stage 4 colon cancer, and within 6 months, she would die. She checked herself into the Huntsman Cancer Hospital in Salt Lake City, Utah, to begin an intense chemotherapy regimen in hopes she could beat the odds. Like nearly all patients who underwent chemo, she began to get sick from the constant radiation flooding her body. Finally, one doctor stepped in with a totally different plan. His name was Dr. Glenn Gilcrease, and he was an associate professor of oncology. He feared the approach that Darla was taking would have detrimental effects on her liver, so he put her on a lower chemotherapy dose. However, he also wanted to get a second opinion on the matter. Dr. Gilcrease consulted with a close colleague and section chief for interventional radiology, Ryan O'Hara. After an in-depth discussion about the safest option for Darla, both men agreed on a potential solution. It was called radioembolization. The intricate process would launch millions of microscopic radioactive beads directly into Darla's bloodstream, where they'd lodge themselves into her body and slowly destroy the tumor. It was a complicated procedure that didn't always work. The doctors also had access to SIR spheres, minuscule spheres infused with a special radioactive isotope used for battling cancer. The level of radioactivity in SIR spheres was much safer than most other cancer-fighting medications. With all these tools at hand, Darla's operation began. Dr. O'Hara and 6 of his colleagues spent hours operating on Darla. For 8 days after the operation, she went through intense and often painful specialized treatments. However, on the 9th day, miraculously, she felt better than she had in months. She didn't want to get her hopes up, however. Cancer, as she knew, is ruthless, and it can creep up again at any moment. A few weeks after her invasive operation, doctors ran some tests and came back to her with news. The tumors on her lungs and liver had disappeared. Her body took to the SIR spheres, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she didn't need chemotherapy. She also became very close with a woman who went through a similar experience. Her name was Suzanne Lindley, and she was a 19-year cancer survivor. She was also the founder of a Texas-based cancer support group called YES, Beat Liver Tumors. Suzanne, having lived through cancer herself, took Darla under her wing. Not only did Suzanne shower Darla with emotional support, but she made Darla the poster child for her support group. Darla embraced the opportunity and involved herself in as many fundraisers and opportunities to help others as possible. A lot of amazing opportunities came along because of Darla's involvement with Suzanne's group. She was invited to the Academy Awards one year, and she went to the People's Choice Awards. But neither of those compared to one incredible event she took part in. Darla walked down the runway for a special fashion show that featured cancer survivors. It was an incredible opportunity to spread a positive message for those who were braving a battle of their own. Of course, Darla couldn't have done any of this without one particular person. Her husband Tim showed a level of support and understanding matched by no one else in her life. He was by her side the entire time and always made sure to keep her mood up. Finally, cancer-free, Darla made it her mission to live every day to the fullest. Darla's story of survival is nothing short of an inspiration to everyone who has battled cancer. Even when the future seems bleak, maintaining a positive attitude is the most important thing to do. This story is proof that even when doctors deliver upsetting news, it doesn't always mean that hope is lost. Share this inspirational story with your friends below.